Hello, we're back, even though this is just a recording, but Amy and I did one time do a live post, and it kind of went good and kind of didn't. And for the first part of it, we didn't even know we were being recorded, and so we were just looking around the computer. But this is my friend, Amy Reese, and I have her here today because she has been with me in the beginning when I wrote the series. And first of all, I want to say hi, Brandy, Kristen, and I want to thank you for helping me with the Secret series and helping me get it out there and making it a success in my eyes. And so today I want to talk a little bit about how the series began, a little bit about me, my background, Amy's background. First of all, my background is in orthopedics, and if you have read the series, and if you're going to, you will discover that's in a lot of the last book, because that's where we live, orthopedic capital. Amy's background is also in medical. She's married to a doctor, but we met because she was my aerobics instructor, so we became good friends, and that's how...
And we used to talk about this book before it was ever written, when she had all the ideas in her head, and we would talk about character development and visions and ideas that she had for her future characters. And it was all very exciting and fun to see it come to fruition and actually become a book and then a series. So Thank you for including me. I've really had a good time with it. It's been a lot of fun.
So what I would do is I would just come home from work after aerobics, and I would work on a chapter a week, and then the next week I would get them all a chapter, and they would read it, and they would tell me what they thought, what was wrong with it. Amy was kind of like my editor, and they would pick out things that were like misspellings, and that's always going to be. But Amy's really good about being that critical person that's going to tell me whether I like it or not.
It's good to have a friend
and that goes for aerobics too. I remember she would come over and say, "No, you're not doing this right." I'm like, "That's because I'm tired and it hurts." So so we would do that. And the class, we had maybe 4 or 5 girls, and then they all started but they would hear us talk about it, so they would join in. So,
and we had a guy too.
Yeah, we did. I wonder if Mark does follow me. I don't know if he ever download this series or...
Well, hi, Mark, just in case.
Hi, Mark, because I probably will post this. So that's our background and how we met. And how it became a series, I know a lot of people talk about there's a series and there's a trilogy. And in the beginning, I'm going to show you something. Since this is mainly, you've all have listened to it through the Audible, and a lot of things, if you don't get the Kindle or the print, a lot of things you don't know. For example, what it was originally going to be called. And I don't know, Amy, do you remember what it was originally going to be called? Because I have it right here.
Oh, as soon as you say... Oh, yes.
Originally, it was going to be called A Kiss to Build a Dream On. And I had no idea. I was not planning it to be a trilogy. But it became too long. And after 100,000 word count, you have to cut that off. Also because editors are expensive and they don't want to go past that. So I then joined RWA, Romance Writers of America, and there I ran into Bethany Clare. She is a USA Today bestseller author of Love Beyond Time series, and her mom put together a Mastering Self-Publishing. But at the time I did have an agent and I was represented, but I hadn't published anything yet. And so I took the course, and she talked about how series are key. And I thought, well, okay, all right. So I thought, well, I'm not going to make it a series, but I'm going to make it a trilogy. But you look like you need to say something.
No, I was just thinking about how good the characters are. And it would have been a shame for it to have been one book.
Yeah.
Because there's so much depth and so many different angles to your characters that I'm really glad you wrote more than one book.
It is. And I know it has, I'm going to say a cuss word, it has pissed some people off. So, but, like I said, I always say to this, because nobody went out and bought that second book when Anastasia ran out on Christian Grey. Nobody went out and bought that second book, right? No, they all did. So it had to work that way because it became too long. I don't want to give out too much in the story about what happens. You know, there are certain things that you just can't put all in one book because it's just going to be, the timeline doesn't work. And I wanted to go through all the seasons. Like the first book has 2 parts. We go through spring, we go through summer, and then the second book we go through fall, we go through winter. And then the third book is basically Jonas retells the story in the past and solves the current conflict in the present. And the reason why I did that, because I always wanted to write a book that went back in the past and corresponded to get to the future. I just always wanted that challenge, and it was a challenge because I actually had to stop and write all the past chapters first, and then all the present, and then plug them in because my tenses would get mixed up when I was like, oh, it's supposed to be in present, oh, it's supposed to be in past. So, but you haven't got to the third book yet, so you haven't seen that yet. So.
But in the 2 that I've completed, you did a good job tying everything together
Right.
and using one book to answer questions from the previous book.
Yes.
And it has just been a
Yes,
wonderful story.
you had to do that. And the thing about connecting all the ties is that's what to me makes the mystery, because if like I said, the Secret series is a romance, but I get bored with just the romance. Don't get me wrong, I love the hot steamy scenes and I love to write it, and I like to write it to where almost, kind of bothers me a little bit. And that's how you know when you wrote a good scene. If it doesn't make you cringe, then you're probably not doing it right. But what's keeping you interest when there's no sex going on? I mean, so that's why I had to put the mysteries in there for me, because I really like thrillers. Romance is my second choice. So, but when I studied this, romance basically was the highest selling genre. So I just kind of put them together. So I've actually had people, for the most part, love the fact that it has a lot of mystery in it. And I've had a few reviews that says this book doesn't know what it wants to be. And that probably could be true, because I didn't want it just to be about the romance. But if it was going to be romance, I believe that you have to really make that chemistry between characters. Because I have read books that I could care less whether characters get together. It's kind of like, make me want them together. And I think, in a way, after the 50 Shades thing, I think too many people are trying to redo that. And it's just kind of like, but the one thing that Yale James was able to create, and that was that chemistry. No matter how much you got mad at her, no matter how much you couldn't stand him, for some reason you just wanted them together. Didn't you feel that too?
Yeah, you still root for them the entire way.
You still wanted them to get together. It's like, come on, work this out. And I think, if anything, maybe I did learn that. And so I had to, in the Secret series, there was a lot of conflict to get to that point where they had to grow. Jonas and Julia had to grow and learn in different ways. I mean, she was sweet, he was not, and you put those two spectrums together, and each is going to change a little bit. And a lot of people, I've had reviews in the first book that say they just hate the way Julia was so weak. Well, thank you, because that's how I wanted her to be. Thank you. And I had some people say, I just couldn't stand the way Jonas was. It's like, good, because you were supposed to feel that way. So what can we do about that? And so I think that to continue on is basically tell Jonas's story. So that's where that part came in.
Well, and earlier you used the word mystery, and that's a good word. I also call it unpredictability, which is what I love about your books, because you're reading it and you're like, you catch me off guard. I didn't expect this and didn't expect that, and
that's usually how I end up. Always end in a chapter.
Yeah.
Like, always in a chapter where it's like, okay, I'm only going to read to this, and then I go on. But then it's like, now what? What does this mean? I gotta, okay, so back to, I always want to, I'd like to be where, even myself as a reader, I want to be where I can't wait to get back to that book.
Right.
So I tried to really create that for the Secret series. So, okay, we'll go on here. Okay. Another thing, too, some of the background, I was really surprised that a lot of people, when I did have it on NetGalley last year, they caught on to what I was trying to do. And basically, I took one of my favorite historical romances, Jane Eyre, and my favorite today romance, which would be Jodi Ellen's This Man series, and made my secret series. So basically, if you haven't noticed, if you've ever read Jane Eyre, a lot of things are similar. How they kind of, I don't want to give anything away because if you haven't read it or listened to it. Anyway, that's why Julia's name is Julia Ellis, because I wanted her to have the initials J.E. And a lot of NetGalley people did pick up on that, and I like that they did. Have you ever read Jane Eyre?
I've
seen the movie?
not.
I've never really read Jane Eyre, but I have seen the movies, and I really do like it. So it's kind of like that. I wanted a little bit of Jane Eyre. I wanted a little bit of Jody Ellen's This Man, like what's this guy hiding? And then I wanted a little bit of that, just a little bit of that silliness in there. Kind of like I think sometimes when I think of Julia's character, and sometimes she's kind of clumsy, I think of when I read the book Me Before You. Louisa Clark was always, especially once all the movies, she was always kind of clumsy and doing stuff, and so I kind of would do that. But then again, your characters kind of just change, and you see them develop into something else. And I think in the Secret Series, if those of you have listened to it, and those of you who are going to read it, you're going to see between the first and the last, we really liked the way these characters develop into who they need to be, who I wanted them to be. So, like you said, when you read the second book, you said there were things in Jonas that you weren't suspecting, because all of a sudden he was sweet again, and then the second book they get back together and he has these. So
again, like you said earlier, you do a good
job
job
of spot of tea here. So
you do a good job of creating the character in us that you want it. Like we see what you're intending for us to see,
right?
And that's
because
good.
Things can't always be jelly beans and little fairies. You have to have that conflict, because if you don't have conflict, you just, it's too perfect. So, okay, let's go on. So that, talk about this man. Okay. I think I talked about how it became a trilogy.
Yes.
So I think it's enough of that. And I talked about Bethany Clare in the Love Beyond Time series. It's, if anybody's ever read it. I mean, I haven't read them. I'm not really into time travel, but those are really big. I guess a lot of people like that. What's that series on HBO? I know a lot of people love these Irish characters.
I was thinking I liked Quantum Leap. Do you remember that show?
The problem is, but then again, you have to think about, we all write fictional. So we all make characters how we want them to be. Well, I worked with a lot of Irish people, and trust me, they're not like that. So yes, our company bought an Irish company, and we had to travel over there, and they vice versa worked over here. So I won't mention names, but they're very they're not romantic. So okay, first of all, I want to, like I said, I thanked Brandy and Kristen, and I want to talk about my narrators, Tracy Marks, who did the first two. And do you remember when I got my first 15 minutes to listen and proof, I called you up. I said, you got to get over here. You got to get over here. You got to listen to this. Because she does such an amazing job.
She does.
And the thing, too, that it was always a dream of mine to have my book, have my characters come to life in somebody else's voice. And so she came over, and we sat in this room, and we listened to it. So I was very excited. So thank you, Tracy Marks. I think you did an excellent job bringing to life Julia and how I saw her. It's neat to have something in your head that you write, and then to know that, that you did a good job that other people explain that. Like, yeah, that's exactly how she would have said that. So for the first two books of His Secret and Her Secret, narrated by Tracy Marks, loved it. And she nailed it. She did a great job. Okay. Okay, so once we knew there was going to be a third book, and so Tracy did too, and we were talking back and forth the emails, and I talked about, she goes, well, I can't wait for the third book to find out what happened, because even as a narrator, she doesn't know. And so I said, well, the problem is going to be in Jonas's POV, so I need a male narrator. And she's like, oh. So I asked her if she had any recommendations, so she's emailed me some names, and so I listened to every one of them. I ended up going with Aaron Shedlock because I noticed they have a lot of duets to do together. They're kind of like that duo team I think people see together. We all like romanticize that all these people could be together. And I did like Aaron Shedlock. I listened to a few of his, and he did an amazing job with Jonas. I mean, it was just so neat to hear, like I said, things that was like, oh, people can hear what's in my head, and I think he did a great job of showing Jonas's, how can I say this, bastard side, his vulnerable side, his sweet side, his damaged side, he did a very
his flawed side.
Yeah, there you go, flawed.
Flawed.
And I could never tell people what my book's about. I can never talk about stuff, but I can sit down and write it. So, but I'm really bad about explaining things. So, but yeah, thank you, Aaron Shedlock. It was great. And people are loving it. And I want to thank you for putting me in touch with Brandy and Kristen. And it's just been amazing. So now what I want to talk about. Okay, a little bit on the characters. A lot of people, talked about the religious view part of it. I could have gone into it. I kind of wondered, well, are people think I'm really pushing it or something like that? No, I mean, it's just a tool I use. Julia's character is basically based off my cousins were raised in very strict Baptists. And so a lot of these views of how she was in the book, which if you read or haven't read, come from that. I mean, they did really believe that way. But since then, they've all grown and realized that they even came to me and said that we didn't know we were living in a cult. But anyway, it's everybody has their beliefs, but I just wanted to, it come a long ways. I actually had an editor who would not edit for me just because of Julia's beliefs. And I had to remind her that Julia's not a real person.
Yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, it's like, okay, we'll just go on. I'll just get another editor. And so, but you find these things. And like I said, this is my first time doing this. And I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like I said, I've never been a writer. I've never been an author. I just
because it's your passion. That's why you're doing it.
I tell people, because I was just stupid enough to think I could do it.
And you can. Lucky for us.
Yeah, so that's some of the things. And a lot of things in the book are kind of really did happen. Like I said, how Jonas and Julie first met on the boardwalk. We really did have a boardwalk here.
Location, yeah.
Yeah,
we talked about
we really did have
things.
that. How he crashes his bike. My husband really did crash his bike over that boardwalk. Let's see. Some of the, Oh, I want to get on this. If you haven't read it, and if you have read it, what's all the dishwasher and threshold talk about? And every time I hear it, when I listen to even the last book with Aaron Shedlock, and he brings those little internal thoughts about the dishwasher. Well, I'm going to give you why that is. My husband, he won't let me start the dishwasher because he says I do it wrong. And so I put that in there as just to okay, well, I'm going to put this in there because there's a thing that in the first two books, I use that as in the mystery part, something that Jonas says, and it triggers Julie in something. And those who have listened to it know what I'm talking about. But that comes from my husband. He has a pet peeve of a certain way to start a dishwasher, and so he just always don't start it, I'll start it. And he can't stand it when people step on the threshold. He's actually just cringes because he says it breaks down the door. And I'm like, I wonder how many times I did that. So did you ever wonder why I put all that in there? We probably discussed that. The dishwasher threshold.
We talked about the dishwasher, but not the threshold.
I need other rules to start a dishwasher. Okay. All right, let's go on. But that's a little bit about that. And okay, I want to talk about some of my favorite authors. And I talked about Jodi Ellen Malpass, and she's an author that I stalk. No, I didn't say stalk, did I? Yeah, I did. I love her. I stalk her. I do. I stalk her. But good thing there's an ocean between us. But no, I do love Jodi because I don't know. When I first listened to This Man, I just kind of liked the way it goes, and it was a trilogy too. And I just like her personality. And I've never met her. Of course, could have to do with the restraining order. No, but I do like her books. Her last 3 books came out I haven't read yet, but I need to get to, but I've been so busy. And and Jodi's in the UK. My second author that I really like, her name is Natasha Lester. She's from Australia, and she writes historical fiction, romance. And what I like, I've read A Kiss from Mr. Fitzgerald. Her books usually take place in around the 1920s era, and she always writes about strong women characters, and I love it because they all smoke and drink Manhattans. And I don't smoke, but I drink Manhattans. And when she talked about the old-fashioned, the Manhattans, like, oh, I do that. So we should have made Manhattans today instead of having a little spot of tea. So, but I do like Natasha Lester, so I think you should probably read her. I think you would like her books, but I do like it. So, and those are some of mine. And okay, then I want to talk about another thing too, when you don't actually have the book, the first book, His Secret. You see here, if you open it up, it's dedicated to Amy because I was writing it for her, and so it's dedicated to her. Now, the second book, of course, she doesn't know this, and is dedicated to Jodi Ellen Malpass. It says, "Thank you for giving us this man," because it did really inspire me a lot. And a couple times I have reached out to her, and she'll give me advice like that, whether it is her or not. But and the third book is, I won't go into too much detail. The third book, I had to get a proof here because I can never keep these on hand, but Secret Enemy, it's dedicated to my little sister. And there's a story about that because I haven't seen my sister for 2 years. And it just says, "To my baby sister, please come back to us." Aww. And I hope she sees this because she is slowly getting on Facebook, and she might see it. But there's been some things there that she needs some help with. So I would like for her to have copies, and maybe she'll read them, and we can work things out. So, okay, the last thing I want to do is I want to talk about bucket list. And the bucket list is, I never thought writing a book and having it on Audible would be my bucket list. So I'm going to say the last 2 things on my bucket list, and it's really weird. I want to fly a plane, and I want to deliver a baby. So I know it's kind of weird. And so on my bucket list, when I fly the plane, it's going to go like this. The pilot is passed out, and we need somebody who can fly this plane. And I come in and say, I can do it. So I get in there, I fly the plane, I land it, and then I go back out there and say, "I saved you, Jodi Ellen. See, I told you that we could, I would save you." So take the restraining order off, please. So. But yeah, I think in the second one would be to deliver a baby. And I don't know. I just think it's kind of weird. So Amy, what's on your bucket list? One thing. Wow. I'm not really thought about it. I didn't know you were going to ask me that.
Oh, I know.
Full of mystery, aren't I?
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. You know what? I still would like to run. Remember I always told you in my 40s I wanted to run.
Okay. Like I said, she was my teacher, and sometimes I would suffer her when she was sick, and so we did aerobics till the cows came home. We can do that. We can do aerobics. We won't tell them about it. We can do aerobics like crazy. But put us in a 5K. Yeah, put us in a 5K. We're done. We're dead. We're too embarrassed to do it because we'd be passed out on the road. And they say, "Are those 2 girls who teach aerobics?
Isn't that instructor?"
Yeah, I was going to do it. So.
But that truly, I would like to run even 10 miles, like something.
Really?
5K or something. Yeah, something. I said I was going to do that in my 40s. I've only got months left.
You got months left. Well, I just turned 52, so I can still fly a plane to deliver a baby. So, and I hate that because I'm getting ready to have my 6th grandchild, and my daughter-in-law is pregnant. So when I said that to her, now I haven't seen her for a while, so she's probably like freaking out, like I'm gonna stay away from your mom because she's like, please let me deliver the baby. So. Okay, so that's really all I have. If you have any questions, just Gina A. Jones is my author page. A lot of people follow me on Gina Jones, but comment on one thing that's on your bucket list. I would like to know. So thank you, and hope you enjoy this series. And if you already have, thank you for liking it. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.